Welcome to The Better Life with Dr. Mariane Pinkston. Join Dr. Pinkston today as she teaches you how an integrative approach to health, combining holistic and contemporary medical information, can lead you to the better life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Mariane Pinkston.
Hello, everybody out there. Welcome to The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston. I am Dr. Mariane Pinkston, and happy to spend some time alone at the mic today. It's very rare that I actually get to sit down and have a one-on-one conversation with all of you guys out there, so to speak, and talk a little bit about some of the things that I'm passionate about. When I first started this show, that's really kind of what I intended, was to sit down and go over topics that I thought were interesting to everybody out there, most of the things about health and wellness and trying to improve your life, therefore making it a better life. And kind of got into a tailspin with guests. I had a lot of people very interested in spreading their word and some of the topics that they're interested in. And so it kind of became a thing over the last year. I'm getting ready to celebrate 1 year now. And, with The Better Life, I did radio back a couple years ago with KTSA here in San Antonio. And there's still recordings out there. I did all 2 years by myself. When I started over here with 9:30 a.m. KLUP, which I'm very grateful for, was able to move into the podcast world. So if you didn't know, I do have a podcast. It's a YouTube channel, and then iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Audibles, all of those things, iHeartRadio, all those things I am on. You can go to drpbetterlife.com. and find all of the links to the YouTube and podcasts. And so drpbetterlife.com and find me there. I do want to say a big thank you this morning to Pinnacle Clinical Research. I had Dr. Harrison on the show last week, who is a hepatologist and gastroenterologist, world-renowned. We talked a lot about fatty liver, and so Pinnacle has been supporting me this year. So I want to give a few phone numbers in regard to getting a fibroscan, which is significantly close to having CT scans and biopsies. You don't have all the radiation, discomfort. A fibroscan is something that you can do, and I want to quickly give you a couple numbers. In San Antonio, it is 210-529-7978. In Austin, it is 512-601-5788. You can go to pinnacleresearch.com and find their information. You can also go to my site, drpbetterlife.com, and find all of that on my website. So now that I'm alone today, what am I going to talk about? I had started a weight loss series, so I'm going to continue that because I think that is always probably the peak of interest for most people. Trying to lose weight is something that is more difficult today than it was probably 20 years ago. I don't think 20 years ago we had quite the same weight issues, obesity issues that we have now. And in the last two series last two shows that I've done alone, I talked about why can't we lose weight or why you can't lose weight. Go back and listen to those two shows because I think that it brings into light some underlying issues of why we're having difficulty lose weight. And I don't want to reiterate all that because it's there. But today I'm going to move into a little bit different area regarding weight, and that is food. So, when patients ask me about losing weight, most of the time they think, well, I just need to exercise more. I eat pretty good, but I need to exercise more. And the truth of the matter is nobody eats really good. When patients say that to me, I tend to kind of cock my head to the side and look at them and think, do you really though? Do you journal out what you eat? Do you look at the details of what you're eating? Do you look at the food sources? Do you look at the breakdown of, proteins, fats, and carbohydrates? Or do you just lower your calories, how much you eat? And then, just try to not necessarily eat better, but, lower the calories down and not eat quite so many, bad, quote unquote, things. So it's really very much more than that. So I want to step backwards for just a second and look at weight loss in general. When you decide you want to change your life, change your body, you talk about weight loss. I want to get people away from that term because weight loss can mean many different things. It means that you're dropping the number on the scale, but what is really happening to your body and your body composition? That is where the meat and potatoes is for looking at weight loss, is what are you doing with your body composition? So instead of talking about weight loss, let's talk about body compositioning. So this is a term that is used in weight loss circles for people who do a lot of fitness competitions. You know, when they slim down and get really tiny, what they're doing is they're burning off the fat in their body and they're building their muscle, and they're changing their body composition to more muscle, less fat. When we talk about just weight loss in general, we are usually, what we're doing to ourselves, we're thinking we're losing body fat. Most of the time, we're really losing muscle. So when you yo-yo diet and you go back and forth between, you know, I lost 20 pounds and I gained 40, I lost 50, I gained 60. When you're doing all this yo-yoing and you're switching up your, you know, diet, lowering a lot of your calories and, you know, just trying to drop the number on the scale, most of the time you're eating far too little and you are actually burning your muscle mass instead of your fat mass. So I want to gather people and turn people away from, you know, that thinking, so that we can understand the mechanics underneath of weight loss and help your body do the right thing in composition. You want to maintain your muscle mass and you want to drop body fat. Body fat is something that's very, very inflammatory. And again, that's something I covered in my last couple of shows. Body fat is something that wants to stay. So if you look at our biochemistry since the beginning of the dawn of man, beginning of time, is built on survival. So anything that we can do to survive, our body is going to put that process ahead of everything else and prioritize it. What our bodies do to survive is store body fat. We don't store muscle as energy, we store body fat. And we save body fat for later in case we get into a starvation mode or trouble, then we have energy to pull from. When you go through and you choose some diets and you lower your calories down and you start a process of intermittent fasting or things like that, you are not going to actually tap into your body fat initially. Your body fat wants to stay and it wants to be stored and saved for long-term deprivation of food, not short-term deprivation of food. When you start a new diet, you're going into a short-term deprivation of food. The first thing that your body generally will do is turn toward its muscle mass and burn that first for energy, which is what your metabolism is. So when you start, you know, eating and you know, looking at your diet and you're trying to think of how to lose weight, a lot of patients will ask me, well, I just need to exercise more. So exercise is wonderful, and it's very, very important for a lot of reasons, and I'm going to save that for another show. But you cannot out-exercise a bad diet, and it's been said over and over and over. When you want to either, you know, lose weight, if you want to call it, or body composition, you want to look at exactly what you're eating in order to get your body out of long-term storage mode into actively burning fat mode. That way you're not burning your muscle. You want to build your muscle, and you can use exercise to do that. I definitely favor a lot of resistance training with cardiovascular training on top in order to build your muscle mass. But underneath, you are going to have to eat correctly in order to do that. So how do you do that? Now, this will probably take me 16 shows in order to get through all the rules about eating. But I will start with a few basics that are just very, very important for everyday life, because we are very busy people. You know, we've got the soccer moms trying to get everything done, you know, laundry, clean the house, take care of the kids, and work for the most part. We've got men who are, you know, with inflation and things going on, you've got to work really hard and take care of it, you know, provide and do all the things that we do. We are very, very busy. We make ourselves so busy now, actually, that we don't really pay attention to what we're doing. So we stop on the way home for food. You know, it's very convenient. We can pick something up and go home with it. We can do that several times a week, or we go out to eat. Eating is a very social thing. We want to take the family out and be together. Coming together at the table is you know, a huge social gathering for families each week. You know, there's a lot of places where we put food as our priority, but what we don't do is put the right types of food and the right types of eating as our priority. So when you do, first of all, parents out there, you are going to have to teach your children at some point how to eat correctly by stopping on the way home, buying food, taking it home, just stopping by, grabbing something quick on the way to soccer, things like that. And I keep saying soccer because this is what I did. I coached soccer, and that's what we did 100 times. We'd stop by, some fast food chain, pick up food to eat on our way somewhere. So instead of doing that, you really have to get to a point where you understand prep and planning ahead. But how do you do that? What are you prepping for? How are you planning ahead? So if you look at the way that your body builds muscle and burns fat, building muscle requires calories. When you lower your calories too far, your body is going to tap into its muscle mass. So don't do that. Don't lower your calories too far. One of the ways that I generally, talk to patients about looking at their calorie intake and, how they're breaking down food and what they're eating is I recommend MyFitnessPal. Now, I really wish that I made, some sort of cut from MyFitnessPal for the number of times that I mention it daily. I do not. But I really like MyFitnessPal because of the way, and you have to buy the premium version. It's only about, I think, $49 a year, and sometimes you can find a special on it. But when you look at MyFitnessPal and you put in your height and your weight and your goal of trying to lose weight, many patients will say, there's options of a half a pound per day, half a pound per week, up to 2 pounds per week. So patients really are like, I want to go for the 2 pounds per week. I really want to do this quickly. I usually don't advise that. I usually stay with about half a pound to a pound a week so that you don't cut things back too hard on your body. But you can put in all of that information, and if you buy the premium version, then you can put in macros. So instead of lowering how many calories, because if you just put in your height, weight, and how many pounds you want to lose a week, generally it will drop your calorie load down. That's exactly what you don't want to do. So what you do when you buy the premium version is you go by macros instead of calories. So what I mean by macros are proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. All right, I'm going to be very basic with this, but proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. We need each of these building blocks to build muscle, to run the engine of our body, to give ourselves energy. In order to, get the percentage of each one of these things correct and use the correct types, we have to eat them in certain distributions. Many patients will drop off carbs. They will go to the keto diet, which I'm not a big fan of, and I've said over and over and over. And the reason I'm not is because, first of all, what is keto diet? It's different for everybody, but most people feel like they can eat all of the, fatty animal-based products, get all the fat that they want, cheese and bacon and, hamburgers and things like that. All these, animal-based products will actually lead you to not be able to process your body chemistry correctly and lead to a very inflammatory, build in your body. So what I generally recommend is kind of a 40-40-20, where you do 40% protein, 40% fat, 20% carbohydrate. The 40% protein is the building blocks of your muscle and the building blocks of all the enzymes of your body, things that feed your mitochondria, which is where your energy stores are and where your body gathers its energy from. And that is what the protein does. Fat sources, you want to look at the good things such as olive oil, nuts, fatty fishes. Those are the things that help to build a lot of first of all, it has a lot of fat-soluble vitamins in it that you need to build your bones and build a lot of your hormones and building blocks of your body. But those are the good fats that help to provide a good source of energy for you as well. And then there's carbohydrates. So why do we focus so much on carbohydrates? Back in the 80s when we flipped from, or maybe it was the 90s, but when we flipped from, whole rich foods and started going very low fat, what we decided was we needed to, add all the salt and sugar in to make it taste good, and that way we could take the fat out and we wouldn't lose the taste. We made a turn at that point for carbohydrates to be the largest source of our intake. And that is where the detriment of our diet and our weight gain began, not to mention some pesticides and things like that. But with carbohydrates, we became a very processed society. We became a very, grab a box, instant open, put water in it, microwave, and boom, you've got an instant dinner. When we did that, we forgot about the fact that carbohydrates are really broken down into, vegetable sources, complex carbohydrates, things that don't absorb as pure sugar. So if we can take the pure sugar factor out of it and eat the carbohydrates that were meant to fuel our bodies, when we get up in the morning and get going, we need carbohydrates to get up and move and get our bodies rocking and going. We need it to think quickly when we're at work. We need it to, perform when we are doing something athletic, when we're exercising or getting out on the field of some sort. Carbohydrates are very, very important. And it's very important that carbohydrates stay fruit and vegetable sourced, that you can also use them more early in the day rather than late in the day, unless you work out at night, then you would need carbohydrates in the evening. But if you can move those to early in the day when you need it, lower them a little bit in the evening, stay with the proteins and fats toward the evening, then I generally recommend people stop at about 7 o'clock at night, have your last meal between 6 and 7, stop, and then, except for fluids, intermittent fast all the way into the morning. When you intermittent fast, your body has plenty of time to focus, not on digesting food and processing all these chemicals, but to turn itself to the body for repair and restorative issues. Repairs your immune system, repairs all the hormones and proteins that you've used, and the mitochondria that have been damaged all day and all week. That is when your body does. You also sleep a lot deeper and a lot better. That adds to your restore and repair, and therefore you begin to change up your body composition. So if you can stay in the 40-40-20, that is my easy rule. 40% protein, 40% good fats, and that can include some good meat sources if they are antibiotic free, if they are organic grass-fed. You can eat a good source of beef, chicken, especially fatty fish if it is wild caught. And those type of sources of fats are okay as well. And then the 20% carb, kind of the way that I described. So I've got a few more things that I want to talk to you about in dietary stuff. We're going to take a short break and come back on the other side and talk about it. I do want to give my website one more time. It's drpbetterlife.com, where you can find all of the resources to go find all my previous shows now that I'm celebrating a year. You can also go to pinnacleresearch.com, who is a sponsor for me today, and I appreciate them very much. We'll see you on the other side.
Fatty liver is linked to two different situations, alcohol and diabetes, or obesity. In both cases, patients can have no symptoms. In the United States, and in particular, Texas, the most common cause of liver disease in general is non-alcoholic fatty liver. Again, associated with overweight, obesity, and/or diabetes. Additional risk factors include high cholesterol, high blood pressure, Hispanic ethnicity, and postmenopausal status. At Pinnacle Clinical Research, we offer a quick, non-invasive ultrasound-based screening assessment called FibroScan. This test is done at no cost to you, and we do not take insurance. The test will measure the fat and stiffness in your liver and stage your risk and development of fatty liver disease. You will meet with a provider immediately following your scan to go over your results. If you're interested in getting more information on your liver health, please call 210-982-0320 and schedule your FibroScan today. We are conveniently located in the Medical Center at 5109 Medical Drive.
Welcome back. Hello, I am Dr. Mariane Pinkston. I am talking a little bit today about kind of the third installment on my weight loss series now, trying to break down a little bit about food. And it's so difficult, to do this in this 27 minutes that I have. So I hope to have a few more shows on this, but because it's a huge topic. And it's something that, patients are very, very confused about when they come in and are having difficulty losing weight. They say that they've tried everything, and I guarantee you have not tried everything. What you've tried is all of the easy ways to lose weight. You're looking for the magic pill, the magic wand, and the magic diet of sorts, and it just isn't out there. This is something that you're going to have to sit down and do the right way. When our bodies are, so inflamed, we've gained so much weight, and, it's fighting us. It's trying to store food and for ourselves for when we're under intense stress. But this stress is something that really doesn't exist anymore. Caveman, they would go for days or weeks sometimes without good sources of food, and their bodies were incredibly stressed during that point. They had fat stores in order to get them through these, times of fasting. We don't have that anymore. We have abundance now. And so our bodies, though, the way our chemistry is built and our genetics are built, we are not built to handle abundance. So what we do is we continue to store it and store it and store it, and that is why people are gaining so much weight. The other thing that happens too is we gain visceral fat. So we gain a fat lining that is on our stomach, but also, surrounds our organs. That fat is very metabolically active. It's not like the subcutaneous fat that is, in our arms and legs and hips and things. We all want to get rid of that too. But it's the visceral fat that is around our organs and on our belly that is causing us to become sicker and increase our risk of diabetes and high blood pressure and heart disease and strokes over time. So what builds in visceral fat, or what causes it to build, everybody is focused on carbohydrates these days and the evil of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are not evil. Calories are not evil. There is a reason why we have something called our basal metabolic rate. Our basal metabolic rate is what it takes for us to get up, be awake, breathe, and move our muscles and get through our workday, all of those things, exercise and everything else added all together, that is the sum total calories we need every day just to exist. There's a reason why we need those calories. Existing is tough work for the body. We have to make a lot of enzymes and muscle and things underneath to get us through the day. And our body wants to do that in a very systematic, very anti-inflammatory way. What we have to do is feed our body in order to do that. We have to have repair of our body. We have to have, to sustain ourselves and how we go. We need that amount of calories. So it really doesn't make sense to drop our calorie load below what our body needs, because then our body will go after its muscle and protein storage, because that is instant. That is something easy to get to, and it will allow our bodies to, pick from it and act quickly, and it will not go after our fat storage. So when you lower your calories down too far, you are not going to burn fat, you're going to burn muscle. So when you get on these, fad diets and you do these fad things and lower your calories too far and you suddenly have dropped 20 pounds, have some sort of, they make tons of scales these days and gadgets that you can have at home, you can order from Amazon or wherever, that you can look at your body fat and your muscle percentage. So your body fat percentage and your muscle percentage. That is what you want to watch in order to see your success at losing weight. Let me give you a short example. So when I was before COVID hit, I was trying to train for a fitness competition. At my best, I had gone to about 150, I think it was about 152, 153 pounds, but I was 16% body fat. So I was at my tiniest, I was my smallest of all time. Then, during COVID, kind of laid off things a little bit, wasn't eating quite as well. I went down to 145, but I was 23% body fat. So I guarantee you, I enjoyed the higher weight with the smaller percentage of body fat. I was at my tiniest, but I was also at my most energetic. Quite honestly, my calorie intake really didn't change so much getting to that lower body fat. Actually, I ate more. So when I lost, I had reduced my, calories down a bit, not eating quite as much, trying to get into competition form. But what I did was as I lowered my calories, not eating as much, I went after my muscle and gained a little bit more fat, and that's why my body dropped. So that is, this is a very, very difficult show to do because I try to pack everything into 27 minutes. I'm almost done. But I want you to just understand the mechanics of eating and why you have to watch your calories, why you have to watch your percentages of your macros, and why you have to focus on building muscle rather than just dropping fat. Therefore, stop focusing on the scale. The last thing I'll say about the scale is that this is a way that I look at how inflamed I am. So I could work all week and eat really well, do all my exercising. I can see the scale drop. Then Saturday night, go out with a couple of friends, have a mimosa or a piece of cheesecake or something. The next morning I jump on the scale, I'm 3 to 5 pounds heavier all of a sudden. What that tells me is, no, I didn't gain weight overnight, but what I gained was a lot of water from a lot of inflammatory stuff that I put in my body. So what I do is I spend the next week trying to get that 3 to 5 pounds off in inflammation. So my body is focused on inflammation for the next week. It's not focused on building muscle and losing fat anymore, and I've just changed my game. So that's why I don't do cheat meals. That's why I tell people, no, when you focus on this, you've got to really focus on it, because that is how your body chemistry works. So just a last word. If you want to find me on social media, I'm on social media, Dr. Pinkston's Better Life Radio and podcast. You can also go to drpbetterlife.com, find all of the links to YouTube's and all of the podcast platforms, and find information about my clinic and my sponsors. Thank you today, Pinnacle Research. And look at all the other shows and pick through some of the things. I've had some great guests. Also have talked a little bit more about weight loss and why you can't lose weight. Look back through those shows, and everybody have a great week. Thank you very, very much. We'll see you next time.